Alright, when I started this channel, I did an introductory overview or explanation of the lathe, and then I did an introduction of the mill. And now that a lot more time has gone by and a lot of experiences have happened, I redid the mill video, unboxing, setup, and upgrades. And so I want to do the same thing. I want to reshoot the introductory on the lathe. I want to cover a lot of stuff here so that the new guy, the person that's thinking about buying a lathe, or the person that just bought one, I want them to be armed with all the knowledge that they need to get started. First thing is, if you bought the lathe, you're going to take it completely apart. You can do it now, or I guarantee you over time you're going to be taking it apart a piece at a time anyway. So take the whole saddle off, take the apron off, the compound apart, get all this off the bed. Put all the pieces to the side, because you're going to come back and you're going to look at everything as you're putting it back together. Take the chuck off the thing, put it to the side, take the side piece off, all the gears come off. You're going to remove the belt, and you can release it with two bolts that are underneath this. So you're going to just drop this down and you'll remove the ground wires, because you're going to remove this whole headstock assembly. Remove the drive belt, but do not remove the motor gear, the pulley or whatever you want to call it's on the motor, or the one that's on the intermediate shaft, which is the other pulley for the drive belt. They're both pressed on, and you probably screw things up and damage it trying to get them off. Put all the gears, everything to the side, loosen. There's two bolts underneath here for the head and one in the back. Take him off. Alright, now you're set to start reassembling it and checking things out. The headstock, you don't have to take anything out of it. Just look in there, make sure all the gears are fine, make sure there's grease in there. Mine did not have grease in there, and I didn't know it for a long time. Luckily, no damage was done. You don't need to use heavy grease like axle grease. I'm just using a lightweight, white kind of grease in the headstock. So make sure your high-low moves fine. Make sure everything rotates easily on it. Look at the gear, the drive gear, as you rotate the spindle. Make sure it's straight, it doesn't wobble. There's no problems with that. There's no play in any of it. I highly recommend you get a test indicator and check the spindle. I check it here for run out this way, and I check the face of it for run out that way. If you have run out, you're going to have a problem turning stuff. So you might as well return it or get it fixed or whatever. Oh yeah, as far as which lathe to buy, I think they're all the same. It's kind of a luck of the draw or whatever. If you're going to get a good one, a cherry one that needs a lot of work like this one did. Grizzly makes it, the Little Machine Shop has them. This is the Harbor Freight, and like I said, I think they're all the same. So, alright, so you've checked out all that. Clean up the bed. You're going to find, at least I did, overspray, paint overspray on the bottom of the headstock and on the rails, and it's going to tilt your head, and you're going to get problems when you're trying to machine over a long distance. Get the grease off the whole bed. Grease can also tilt things, so I have this completely dry underneath here. If it rusts, it rusts, but then I just have light motor oil on the bed itself. So once you've checked that, you can put it back in place and bolt it down. Now you can go through all the gears, and I did a video on gears that really got involved, because if you mount them wrong, you mesh them wrong, you can wind up destroying them. But what I would do next is, before the gears actually check the lead screw out. There's two couplings on the end. Loosen them. You can bring them together, because you do not want this lead screw going sideways at all, because then you're going to have play in this when you're trying to do some turning. So play with the couplings and make sure the lead screw turns really easy by hand. If it doesn't, you're going to wear out a gear over time, and then you're going to be replacing the gears. So once that's done, now you can start putting the gears back in place, and watch one of the videos called Change Gears, and everything I went through figuring out how you're supposed to remount the belt, how you tilt the motor to get it so that the belt isn't rubbing against the headstock. I bet you a lot of them. Once I discovered that problem in my lathe, that the belt was rubbing the headstock and it destroyed the belt, I YouTubed how to align the belt or do it, and that is an extremely common problem that everybody is having, shredding their belt because it's rubbing up against or it's not aligned properly. So watch my video. I think it's 3 pieces, 3 different ones, where I keep going through my learning curve on how to get the gears meshed correctly and how to get the drive belt centered correctly. So you're going to have to go through all of that and get that back together. Then you can put this back on. Now you can start playing with the saddle. And it's really, really important that you understand the Gibbs screws and you learn how to work with them. That was my main problem. When I first got this, I couldn't turn anything. It was just terrible looking, and it's because there's play. And when I had a friend of mine is a machinist, he came over and the first thing he did was he just grabbed this and started tweaking everything. He's looking at it going, it's all moving, Dave. You're not going to be able to turn squat. So start with just the saddle and the apron. Try putting that back together. Make sure everything moves really smoothly. You could have problems in the gears here or in the gears here. I did find a thin piece of plastic that I put on the back face here, and that's because as you're turning, chips are going to start going into this gear and it just starts binding and having problems. So you want to keep chips out of there. The saddle, make sure it doesn't turn this way or this way. There's not too much you can do with adjustments the way they've designed it, but if you've got movement this way, you're going to have a problem boring because it's just going to keep walking out. And same way with this guy, you want to make sure there's no movement. You can't move this guy back and forth, so you're going to be playing with 2 Gib things here, and you'll see that there's nothing on the top, so you'll understand why there's a problem. And I had to machine a little block up here to hold the 2 Gibbs parallel, and you'll see what the 2 set screws do in here and how it tightens and controls that, because that's usually where the play comes from. It's because it's the claw is walking back and forth inside the Gibbs. So get all of that nice and straight and solid. Next, you're going to be working with the compound. These guys, they're square when I got them, and they're making marks in the actual Gibbs, and when you tighten it up, it keeps falling in the same spot and it keeps causing play. You know, as you can see here, I've got like I can't even see anything moving. I had taken the Gibbs screws out and put them on the grinder, made them a ball, and cleaned up the Gib. And I also use lapping compound to get it nice and straight. So you may have to do lapping, I don't know. Get this guy rock solid. This is the big key to having really nice finishes and really nice turns. So once you've got that, you can use the existing tool post, quick change. That's not what would be a quick change, but the tool post that it comes with. You're going to have whatever you use for cutters. You know, I do recommend you get, like, from Anytime Tools, Amazon, the 3/8 set, because there's a lot more flexibility to it. I had originally bought everything Harbor Freight had, and all of it was junk except for their 1/4 set, which was just excitingly average. It didn't do very good stuff, but it didn't do bad stuff either. So one key is that nobody really mentions, you want the cutter to be absolutely dead center on the work. And the only way to do that is you start adjusting, shimming, whatever you got to do by facing off something, and you want it, when it's done facing off, you want a flat surface. That tells you you're dead center, and then that's where you need to be. What else did I say? Anything? I don't think so. That was, because all the problems I had, the gears were wrong, I didn't know it. Play in the gib here was bad. I had claw problems in it. The lead screw was moving on it. So over time, as I started figuring things out, I wound up eventually taking the whole machine apart anyway, but a piece at a time. That's probably all I can say. Oh, the chuck. Yeah, I've got another video on chuck maintenance, so it'll tell you how to take the jaws out, how to put them back in, the order of them, cleaning it up. There's a bunch of different videos I've done on run out, exploring that, showing that if you clamp something, you may have 1.5 mil run out. You just undo it, reclamp it, now you may have 2 mils run out. So that's just a chuck contamination in the scroll part inside of it. I had this chuck is a 4-inch. This isn't the one that came with it, but I had eventually taken all my chucks completely apart and did maintenance and grease and check them out inside and out. Anything else? Nope, I think that's about it. So if you just bought a lathe, congratulations. Take it apart. Alright, I guess I can talk about upgrades that you can do to the lathe. There's quite a few things. I haven't done too many. To change gears, you can go to the little machine shop. They sell change gears that are all steel. It's $99 for the set. What I'm curious about is they describe what you get in the set, and this guy, when it came from the factory, there's two 80-tooth gears that keep this real slow, so that when you run the power feed, you're going as slow as possible to get a nice finish. The two 80-tooths are not listed in that kit, the upgrade kit on the LMS site. You can find on eBay somebody else in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is selling change gears, and it includes the 80-tooth. The 80-tooth gears. It's also $69. So if you're considering going that way, you might want to just explore YouTube. I've also heard on some YouTube videos that it makes a lot more noise going over to the metal gears. So that's one upgrade you can consider. The chuck, it comes with a 3-inch. This is the 4-inch. Bought it off of Amazon. It was advertised as Steelex. When I got it, it actually says Shop Fox on it. It came with the adapter. The adapter plate is generic. It has empty holes, and that caused vibration. So I forgot to mention, when you're putting this guy back together, don't put the chuck on it. Run it at different speeds. If there's any vibrations, you got to track it down, figure out what it is, and get rid of it, because it will affect your surface. On the adapter plate, like I said, it's generic, and there were empty holes, so there's missing steel, and it was out of balance. So I had to machine some little plugs to balance it. You can take, I had bought a stainless rod, which is pretty darn straight, ran it all the way through the chuck, clamped it down, took 2 bottles, I actually used beer bottles, put it on a flat surface, and you put the rod on top of it, and you'll see it roll. So you can check your chuck balancing that way to get it balanced out nicely so it doesn't have vibrations. Quick change tool post, you're going to hear a lot of people abbreviate it QCTP. Took me a long time to figure out what QCTP meant. So this is the Harbor Freight tool post. I think, yeah, it was $100. You get this guy, you get a few of the tool holders with it, and a knurling tool, and the knurling tool is really difficult to work with. I've got a video on your do-it-yourself knurling tool if you're interested. I also suggest go to my website, theminimachineshop.com. There's a link to my channel, and so you can see it all in a nice order from video number 1 through. I highly recommend you go through every video one at a time. A lot of subjects are intermixed. You know, the title may be one thing, but I've got something else in there that you wouldn't even realize. I learned by watching Tom Lipton, every one of his Monday Night Meatloafs from number 1 to 100. I learned how to do a lot of things, a lot of technical jargon, compound, this, that. So watch all my videos and you'll see everything, how I evolved in the lathe and the mill. So this guy, there's 2 types of quick change tool posts. There's this type where this is female, but there's also one where the sex is reversed, and wound up making a lot of my own holders. Let me pull one out. It's got some tools in it. This is the one that you do get, and you can modify and lock down so these things don't move, because again, you want to be on dead center. But where is, yeah, here's, okay, yeah, here's the Harbor Freight one, and this is what I recommend, is you go over to the 3/8 set, because there's a lot more flexibility in the inserts that you can get. With this, you can only get one insert. I haven't seen anything that's considered finishing that'll fit it, or aluminum only, or steel, or whatever that'll fit it. I found a lot of stuff with the 3/8, so I recommend you get that. As far as which one, if you're going to make them, I think it would have been easier if I would have bought the other type of tool post, because this is rather difficult to get that dimension absolutely correct so that it tightens down really nice. And on this guy, I got tired of using the Allen wrench all the time, so this was kind of a quick bang it out. So now I can just tighten it up. Okay, that wasn't good, Dave. Drop it in. Now tighten it up. So it works great. And what else is there? Made some of my own knobs. Didn't like the ones that it came with. Another kind of critical thing is the dial here. When they screw this down, it's going to push it up against the back piece here, and there's a lot of friction in there. So I did machine out of aluminum some little spacers that keep this away from the back, so there's no friction in there. The print for this thing is on the website under project plans or whatever, so you can see the dimensions to duplicate that, or these handles, all this stuff is on there. I already mentioned the other upgrade, putting a piece in here. Let me pull the tailstock out. There's a lot of different upgrades. Oh yeah, so I had the 3-inch, went to the 4-inch, and then I went to the ER32 collet chuck, which gives me more distance between centers and holds the work absolutely perfectly straight, and Zippo will run out on it. Tailstock. Get that over there and out of the way. There were a few mods done to this thing. Again, the nut that was in here is a pain. I've got plans for how to make this little guy so it just locks straight down. Same way with this, there's how to do this guy. All the plans for that are on the website so that you can accurately measure your depths. I originally did use a chuck, but I wound up buying an ER32. Links to a lot of this stuff are also on the website, so if you want to buy these pieces or upgrade. Oh, wow, I got a collet in this thing. Let me get this off of here. Looks like I left a 1/2-inch collet in here, so you can see what the collets look like. ER32 collets. I've got links to them on eBay. I had bought the entire Imperial set and metric set. Come on, out. There we go. So that's what one of them looks like. There's also videos on collet education, the difference between the different types of collets and how they capture, and problems that you can get into with the capturing of them. There's also the back of this guy. There's a lot of people that did modifications to get this centered. I've also got a video on how you're supposed to center it, and that's critical because a lot of people are centering the tailstock to the center of the chuck, and you don't want that. You want it to be centered to the center of rotation. So there's a video that really explains that clearly that you can see. Otherwise, if you're centering to the chuck, inevitably when you drill, you're going to see the drill bit move because it's trying to go to the center of rotation. So that was upgrades to the tailstock. This was just CNC stuff, so that's optional. I've got videos talking about that too. Any other upgrades that I did? Eventually what I want to do is I want to raise this guy up. I saw somebody actually put 2x4s, so I'm going to cut some nice 2x4s and just bring this whole machine up so I can get underneath there, easier to clean, and it'll also be a nicer height, I think, for working with it. What, anything here? Yeah, I've got all kinds of videos on drilling, tapping, any aspect. So again, watch them all from number 1 to, I think I'm at 76 now. This is probably going to be 77. And all the different things that you can make for it. So, alright, I think that covers all the upgrades.